President Trump is not holding back his anger, certainly, for the FBI director that he fired nearly a year ago. This morning, the president fired off another tweet taking aim at Comey after his first TV interview promoting his new book. Here's the tweet, quote, Comey drafted the crooked Hillary exoneration long before he talked to her, lied in Congress to Senator G, then based his decisions on her poll numbers. Disgruntled, he, McCabe, and the others committed many crimes. Mr. Comey doesn't see it that way. Obviously, he says the president is morally unfit for office, also compared him to a mob boss. Take a listen.
There's a distinction between a friend of yours and a friend of ours. I felt this effort to make us all, and maybe this wasn't their intention, but it's the way it felt to me, to make us all amica nostra. We're all part of the messaging. We're all part of the effort. The boss is at the head of the table, and we're going to figure out together how to do this.
How strange is it for you to sit here and compare the president to a mob boss?
Very strange. And I don't do it lightly. And I'm not trying to, by the way, suggest that President Trump is out breaking legs and shaking down shopkeepers. But instead, what I'm talking about is that leadership culture constantly comes back to me when I think about my experience with the Trump administration.
Well, the interview got the attention of many on Capitol Hill. Earlier tonight, I spoke with Republican Congressman Jim Jordan, a member of the House Judiciary Committee. So, Congressman Jordan, yesterday Speaker Ryan said that Jim Comey is a man of integrity as far as he knows. Is he wrong?
I don't think Jim Comey has much credibility, Anderson. You know, I thought he was wrong on July 5th when he went out and did his big press conference before the election. I thought he was wrong when he reopened the case in October, 10 days before the election. I thought he was wrong throughout that entire investigation. And I said so both times. When I said so in October, I took a lot of heat from some of my Republican colleagues, but I thought he screwed this thing up from the get-go, and I don't think he has a whole lot of credibility. Just in terms of the rhetoric surrounding all this, the president has referred to his former FBI director as a slime ball, referred to the upper echelons of the FBI as a den of thieves and lowlives. Are you at all concerned that this can damage the public confidence in the institution of the FBI? The FBI's confidence is damaged because of the actions of Jim Comey, Andrew McCabe, for goodness sake. I mean, think about it. Anderson, Jim Comey was fired. Deputy Director McCabe was fired for lying 4 times, twice under oath. Chief Counsel Jim Baker was demoted and reassigned. Deputy Counterintelligence Peter Strzok was demoted and reassigned. And Lisa Page, FBI counsel, was demoted and reassigned. These are some of the top people at the FBI.
Right, so I think they were demoted and reassigned by Robert Mueller himself. After first being selected to be on the team, and we've seen the text messages which just don't show bias, they show animus towards the president that the American people elected. So these are the top people at the FBI. If anyone's destroyed the credibility at the top, it's those people. The rank and file agents, Americans have the highest confidence in those folks. You don't think the president calling, these people lowlifes, referring to the den of thieves, that shows animus? How about the report that came out just last Friday on Andrew McCabe? Here's what he did. Right. You want to talk about scheming and crafty. I'm just asking if you think the president is showing animus by calling, the upper echelons of the FBI den of thieves and lowlives. I mean, these are law enforcement officers. I think he's pointing out the fact that these 5 people were up to things. They've all been demoted or reassigned or fired. I think that's pretty telling. I want to play something that Comey said in his interview last night about the president.
I don't think he's medically unfit to be president. I think he's morally unfit to be president. A person who sees moral equivalence in Charlottesville, who talks about and treats women like they're pieces of meat, who lies constantly about matters big and small and insists the American people believe it, that person's not fit to be president of the United States on moral grounds. Do you disagree with him there? I do. I think the American people spoke loudly and clearly on Election Day, and they made Donald Trump the president of the United States. I think in 2017 we did some good things for this country, specifically the tax cuts. Do you think the president lies a lot? Like Neil Gorsuch on the Supreme Court, like reducing regulations, like saying the embassy should in fact go to Jerusalem. I think a lot of good things happened in 2017. Do you think the president lies a lot? Excuse me, Anderson? Do you think the president lies a lot, like Jim Comey says? I do not. I think Jim Comey has leaked information through a friend to the New York Times for the stated purpose of getting a special counsel. I think Jim Comey took over an investigation that never happened before. It had always been the Attorney General who would announce the findings, whether they were going to prosecute or not. But I think Jim Comey, as I said earlier, his credibility is gone because of how he handled the Clinton investigation and how they started the Trump investigation. I mean, but come on. I mean, you got to admit this president has said things which are just demonstrably not true time and time again. I mean, the list is a very long one, almost on a daily basis. I think Andrew McCabe has said things that aren't true, and the Inspector General did an investigation and was fired because of that. Right. So you're very bold in calling out Andrew McCabe,
not so bold on the President of the United States.
It wasn't me calling Andrew McCabe, it was his colleagues.
Okay.
I mean, it was
okay, so you haven't heard the President lie. You haven't heard the President lie.
I've not heard the President has always been square with me. That's for darn sure.
What about the American people?
The American people elected him President of the United States.
Okay, but have you ever heard the President lie? That's what I'm asking you.
And I've not. And the American people feel like what the treatment he's received from the top people at the FBI
I don't think you can talk about all of the American people, but I'm asking you just yourself, have you ever heard the President lie?
I've not.
Really? So when the Washington Post counts hundreds and hundreds of times, none of those are believable to you?
I've not seen what the Washington Post reported. You're asking, does the President communicated something that wasn't accurate to me? I've not.
No, not to you. Has the President publicly said anything that is a lie?
Well, I mean, look, I don't know of it. Nothing comes to mind. But look, people who talk as much as you and I do, my guess is probably, Anderson, you may have said something at some point that wasn't 100% accurate.
If I have, I apologize for it, and I try to correct it as possible.
Fine.
Have you heard the President? Have you heard the President apologize and correct something?
I don't know that he said something wrong that he needs to apologize for. Nothing comes to mind right now. I'm saying that if I would do something like that, I would say, look, if I said something that's not accurate, I would deal with it. But I don't know that the President has.
Let me ask you, just in terms of what's going to happen next, obviously with Ryan leaving, are you interested in becoming Speaker?
Look, I said this last week. Right now, Paul Ryan's the Speaker. He said he's going to continue to be the Speaker for the remainder of this Congress. If and when there is a Speaker's race, I've had colleagues encourage me to look at that, and I'm open to looking at it. But the big focus, and I said this on the floor of the House last week, much more important than who the Speaker is next year is what Republicans do this year. And if we don't start doing what the American people sent us here to do, there ain't going to be a Speaker's race because we won't be in the majority. So let's get focused on what we're supposed to be doing, what they sent us here to do, what they told us to do when they gave us the privilege to come here and serve.
You're that concerned about the midterms?
I'm concerned about the midterms, yes. And if we don't do what we are sent here to do, build the border security wall, deal with welfare reform in the way we need to, make the tax cuts permanent, the policies that we were elected to do, if we don't get focused on that, then we could have some problems. If we do get focused on that, I think we can win.
Congressman Jordan, appreciate your time. Thank you.
You bet, Anderson. Take care.